Starting off at number 10 is nacreous clouds. This picture is taken in Jämtland, Sweden. You can see the nacreous clouds, and I know what you're thinking. These are fake. I mean, it looks like 60s psychedelic art transposed onto the sky. Some sort of oil spill on the clouds. It kinda looks like what you see when you rub your eyes too much. Like, it's all that trippiness. But really, no, these are clouds. They form up high in the atmosphere, about 30 kilometers up, so way higher than a bunch of other clouds, and they are also known as ice polar stratospheric clouds. There's a lot of science behind them, so just know that they're a real thing. But yeah, really, they do look like something you think you would see if you woke up one day in a parallel universe, and it's just the one thing that's off. You're like, nah, I'm just going about my day. It's chill, it's chill. And then you look up and you're like, whoa, dude. It's a lot. You know? Yeah. On to number 9, a blue McDonald's fries container. So yeah, sure, in this universe, McDonald's red and yellow. Those are its brand colors. And that's probably because there's been research that says the color red can stimulate appetite. I believe it, you know. And then also they have yellow because yellow's just really cute. I know it's gold for golden arches, but it's really yellow, let's be real. But these colors might not be the same in other universes. Like, take this fries container. Blue and yellow. It's just different. I feel calm. I still kind of want McDonald's fries, not gonna lie, because I always do. I don't know. But it turns out this picture was most likely taken in Israel because people caught that there's some Hebrew writing on the ketchup packets and on tray paper, so yes, it is in this universe, but just imagine there's a McDonald's out there that went blue and yellow instead. Just blue and yellow. Moving on to number 8, a spotted zebra. So zebras have stripes, right? I'm not remembering incorrectly. Yeah, I'm right. They have stripes. But apparently not all zebras. A zebra foal debuted with a dark coat and white polka dots. Over in Kenya's Masai Mara National Reserve, a foal debuted. He has been named Tira. In addition to being absolutely adorable, he is unique. So maybe a baby zebra from another universe where they have spots got confused and wandered over to this universe. And then a striped baby zebra from this one wandered over there to the polka dot world. It kind of sounds like a children's book to me, so write it and then send it my way. Thank you. But sadly, this zebra may not have such a happy ending. Without the signature stripes, Tira may get more bug bites, be easier prey to hunt, and all that. Unfortunately, predators can find it hard to target an individual in a group of zebras since they're like chasing a bunch of lines. But a polka dot zebra could be easier because it sticks out. But it looks cute. At least. Okay, moving on. Number 7, bougie 7-Eleven. Over in Chicago, one 7-Eleven is straying from the normal green, red, and orange. It's going gold. Like, look at this. Not only are all the letters all crisp and shiny, but the whole storefront is golden. The doors, the metal structure, everything. In an alternate universe, I need to know, is 7-Eleven like nice? Here, it's a corner store, gas station level, kind of like grab and go. Just all that. The coffee tastes as cheap as it is. The overpriced chips that I will still buy are there. And of course it has Slurpees. It's like a slushie, but it's a Slurpee. And that's what we have here. But in an alternate universe 7-Eleven, are there finer foods, like finger foods? Is there a to-go section that's like a buffet? Are there oysters? Is it the Roaring 20s there? Like, is it like glitz and glam? Is there gold all around? Is 7-Eleven different? Is it different where you are? I don't know. Number 6, green Elmo. So while hiking in Georgia, a Reddit user stumbled upon an old Elmo covered in moss. So the result is an Elmo that looks entirely green. An Elmo of nature, if you will. It kind of gives new meaning to Elmo's world. Like, no longer does Elmo's world mean, you know, the world he is living in. No, now Elmo's world means Elmo is the world. Either in the fact that he's literally a part of it, becoming it, moss encapsulating him, or the other way. There's an alternate universe where he is the planet, and it's inhabited by elbows. Because I could see that. Because I would watch that if it was a show, let's be real. Anyways, it really looks like this Elmo has seen some things. Like, look at the eyes. So maybe this alternate universe Elmo is more Five Nights at Freddy's than Sesame Street. Because it looks kind of creeped out if you ask me. On to another one of different colors. Number 5, an albino moose. Or albino mooses? Let's think about it. So I've covered crawlers and cryptids before, and when you take a peek at this albino moose, just think about what it would look like at night when you can barely see. Just think about it. Okay, moving on. What these moose were spotted doing was crossing a road in northern Ontario. So albinism, which these moose have, is something that this universe most species can get. Melanin isn't produced and the skin and hair go white. And that's what's happening here. But do you think maybe there's an alternate universe where albinism is dominant? As in most everything is albino and rarity is colorful. Maybe there is a different world out there where 2 colorful brown moose are crossing the street and someone else is very confused about all this color because everyone there is albino. I don't know, maybe. Could be. But let's move on to number 4, a blonde sea lion. So no, this isn't a tempura shrimp. It is not a jumbo prawn. This is a black sea lion that evidently isn't black. His buddy is sitting there behind him like a hype man with just a little wink at the camera saying, yeah, look at my butt here. Cool fur, right? And then the blonde friend in the front is just like hitting a pose, waiting for the photo to be taken. The sea lion just knows they're special. They're flaunting it, they have a smile, they're waiting for a snack. They're just like, hello? They look like they're from a Sunshine universe. Or the Lorax, one of the two. Either way, I feel like someone should Photoshop it as if it's on a plate of shrimp and then have a contest to see if people could spot the difference. Because I couldn't. Adorable. But this is another lighter animal at number 3, an orange gator. So spotted in South Carolina, this orange gator might give Chester the cheetah a run for his money. He looks like he might be covered in Cheeto dust, or it might be dried clay. Who knows? So this gator is laying there with its little gator smile thinking it's camouflaged or something, but it's bright orange. Yet another animal from the bright and shiny alternate universe. Just like, are all reptiles warm-toned in that alternate universe? Are they warm-blooded? What is the story behind this gator? Is it too much self-tanner? Is it residual rust from a pipe it had a nap in? I don't know. But local news doesn't really know either for sure. So the last one seems to be closest from what I've read. There were 2 gators a week after this one appeared and they may have hibernated in an old pipe. No need to worry about the rust and what the hibernating in a pipe could do for their skin and all of their scales. They will shed off that entire layer and all that rust when they shed off their skin. So no worries. The gators are safe, because that's what we worry about with gators, their safety. On to number 2, no aces. So playing cards, they don't have ones, they have aces. It can be ace high or ace low, just no matter your preference, it's an ace, not a 1. But these cards don't play by those rules apparently and are insufferable to look at. They have 1s instead of aces, like you can't play poker with those. No Texas Hold'em, euchre, hearts, none of it. You could try and pretend they are aces, but we all know what is right and that is not the same, okay? What twisted parallel universe decided it was okay to come into our universe and plant the seeds of something that would tear down the playing card industry? No, I won't allow it. I want aces. That's all I'm saying. And yes, ace used to represent the side of the die with only 1 pip. It used to mean bad luck in Middle English. But culture has evolved so it now represents high quality. So I will not stand for this regression of our culture, okay? Okay, moving on from aces, I swear. At number 1, we have a whoa sign. So you may have heard of a stop sign or seen one. I mean, I assume you have. If you have a computer or phone to watch this on, you've most likely been in a car. Right, yeah. Anyways, what if a stop sign said something different? Introducing the whoa sign. This sign is saying, oh, whoa there, bud, you gotta stop right there. Just slow your roll. Roll to a stop, please. Whoa, buddy. Oh, whoa. And yes, whoa is also the command for an animal to stand still or just anyone to stand still, so it does make sense. But the fact it is used as a replacement for stop still seems funny. I feel infrastructure is always quite serious and formal, so to see something like whoa on a sign just seems kind of fun to me. I don't know. It catches you off guard, just a bit. So maybe in another universe that's the norm. All like, hit the whoa, then you may go. Gotta skeet skeet before you vroom down the street. Gotta slow down before you ride around town. Whoa.
Starting off this countdown, we have the wrong turn. So this is a real story reported by 4 university students. Their names were never disclosed to protect their identity. But apparently in May of 1972, they were on their way back from a Utah rodeo and headed to their dorm. On their way back, they decided to take a shortcut. But that was their first mistake. While traveling along this unknown road, the path suddenly turned into gravel, and then all of a sudden they hit a dead end. So they had to travel all the way back down the road that they just came. However, while doing so, they noticed that the path had changed. It didn't look like the same original path that they originally took. All of a sudden, they saw something glowing in the distance. They drove towards it and found themselves at a weird building with a neon sign. The neon sign was in a language that none of them recognized. When they pulled towards the building for help, these weird tall men came out towards them. They seemed confused and angry. One got close to the car and one of the girls screamed. The tall man didn't appear to be human, so they sped out of there. While driving away, they saw weird egg-shaped vehicles following them. They sped until the vehicles stopped following them. Finally, they somehow reached the road that they were originally on. To this day, they believe that they somehow traveled to another universe through that road. Isn't that creepy? Hit that thumbs up button if you agree. In our 9th spot, we have the Lyft ride and the disappearing store. Just recently, Reddit user NoBookkeeper3991 decided to take a Lyft to go to the dollar store. It wasn't too far from his place, and it wasn't complicated to get to. A couple minutes go by and he should have reached the store by now, but they couldn't find it. The store just randomly wasn't there anymore. In fact, the whole street looked different. Both the dude and the Lyft driver started to panic. Everything changed in front of them in a flash. It was super weird. So yeah, the guy didn't end up going to the dollar store that day. Apparently, they rode into a parallel universe or something. And of course, days later, the missing dollar store magically reappeared again. Moving on at number 8, we have the disappearing professor. A well-known faculty member at the University of the Andes disappeared on campus without a trace. According to multiple witnesses, they saw the professor leave one of the university's buildings, cross the parking lot, and get into his car. Many people saw this happen. In fact, people were calling at him and waving to him as he got into his car. But his car sat there unmoving for a while. A couple of students actually approached the car to see what was going on and found the car empty. The professor was nowhere to be found. To this day, the professor has never returned. It's assumed that when he got into his car, he was transported to a different universe. Moving on at number 7, we have the Green Children of Woolpit. Back in the 13th century, 2 weird children randomly appeared in the village of Woolpit in England. The 2 were brother and sister and had weird greenish colored skin. To make things weirder, they spoke a language no one heard of, and they were dressed in weird clothing. They also didn't want to eat anything except raw beans. Eventually, they were taken in, but sadly, the boy became sick and passed away. The girl, on the other hand, started to like normal food and started to lose the green color in her skin. After learning to speak English, she said that her and her brother were from a place where people had green skin and the sun didn't shine bright. They were herding their dad's cattle when all of a sudden they heard a loud noise. Bam! They were in a new place. Now the girl ended up growing up and marrying a man and starting a whole new life there. But it seems like the 2 traveled there from another dimension. Coming in at number 6, we have the campsite. A couple of years ago, a woman and her friends were out camping when they heard music coming from the forest. They followed the sound thinking that they were alone and came across a small stone cabin. The weirdest part? When they approached the cabin, they saw people dressed in 17th century fashion. One of the friends was fascinated and went over to the cabin to try and go inside. As she was about to enter, one of her friends pulled her away. As that happened, half of her body became paralyzed, the half that entered the cabin. It's believed that she partially entered another dimension, and that threw off her nervous system, which resulted in half of her body becoming paralyzed. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the deaths. This story is pretty intense, so buckle your seatbelts. But basically, one night this woman had a dream about someone she knew dying. 3 days later, that dream came true and the person passed away. This has happened to her a number of times. She falls asleep, has a dream that someone dies, and in exactly 3 days, that dream comes true and that person passes away. I mean, that sounds like a horror movie plot, like if you agree. Anyways, this has happened to 2 of her colleagues, 3 of her grandparents, her great-grandfather, her friend's grandfather, 2 school teachers, 3 of her friends, and a random lady she met for 5 minutes one day at work. So maybe don't become friends with her, because then she'll have a dream about you and then you'll die. I'm just kidding. But some people believe that she's actually hopping from different universes. In one universe, the person has already passed away. When she jumps back to her current universe, the person isn't dead yet, and that's what triggers these dreams. They're just memories from other universes that she has traveled to. In our 4th spot, we have the different family home. Back in the day, a woman named Carol Chase McElhenney decided to visit her old family town and area. But when she was driving down her old street, she couldn't find the old house that she grew up in. In fact, all the houses on the street looked completely different. She then decided to drive to the street where her grandmother used to live on. But when she got there, she found that the street was completely different as well. She then was driving through the town, noticing that almost everything was changed. Like the cemetery where her parents were buried wasn't there anymore. Or a strip of restaurants and hotels was now just a graffiti-covered area. She started feeling very uncomfortable and drove off. A few years later, Carol's father died and they went back to the cemetery to bury him with his parents. Surprisingly, the cemetery magically reappeared and everything about the town was back to normal. So she believes that during her other trip, she managed to visit her old town from a different dimension. In our third spot, we have the birth certificate. Just recently, Reddit user Professional Echo 348 went to get a new birth certificate. They were at town hall when they saw that their mother's middle name was not right. It was written as Victoria, but her real middle name was Virginia. So she asked the clerk what was up with it. Even her last birth certificate had her mom's middle name as Virginia. Sadly, her mom passed away 17 years ago, so she couldn't just phone up her mom and ask her what was up. Plus, she even named her daughter's middle name after her mom's middle name. So she decided to dig into this some more. She was going through old files when she saw that her mother was once married to a man named Pierce, which again was wrong. His name was actually Pierre, not Pierce. So sometime in her life, she switched universes. One where her mother's middle name was Victoria and her stepfather's name was Pierce. Coming in at number 2, we have the different girlfriend. One day, a guy woke up only to find that he had been sleeping next to some random girl. He freaked out, and the girl, whose name was Laura, was all like, WTF, we've been dating for a couple of years now. How don't you remember? Stop fooling around, this isn't funny. Sure enough, his apartment was filled with framed photos of them together. What's weird is that wasn't his girlfriend. He was dating a girl named Maria, not Laura. So apparently, he went to bed with Maria and woke up beside a new girlfriend, Laura. So somehow he managed to switch universes in his sleep. That is insane. And does that count as cheating? Let me know in the comments below. And in our number 1 spot, we have Lorena Garcia. Lorena Garcia lived a pretty mundane life until one day, everything changed forever. Her life literally got flipped upside down. So she woke up one day and noticed her bed sheets were different than normal. She kind of just ignored it and went on with her day. But as she made her way to work, she noticed little things were off. Again, she ignored it as she arrived at work. But when she got to her department, she realized it wasn't her department. She thought that she was on the wrong floor, but she wasn't. She had worked there for the last 20 years. But today, she worked in a different department. She even looked herself up on her work's database. She worked at the same company, but it said she worked at a different department. Then things continued to get weird. Her former boyfriend disappeared without a trace. There was no sign of him anywhere. There was not even a sign that the two had even dated. In fact, she hired someone to see what happened to him. Turns out, he never existed. At least not in this universe. Her current boyfriend was someone completely different. So somehow, when Lorena went to bed, she managed to travel to another universe. Isn't that crazy? Like, imagine waking up and having a completely new job and partner. I would freak out and probably go insane.
Number 10, ripples in space. It's no secret that finding definitive proof that parallel universes exist have been extremely difficult. But scientists have been studying gravitational waves or ripples in space that were caused by the motion of massive objects. Now they're theorizing that these ripples might be able to prove that parallel universes do exist. Gravity is thought to be relatively consistent throughout all dimensions and universes. So researchers think that they can use gravitational waves to detect where parallel universes are. Basically, they're assuming that when they come across a ripple in space, it's caused by one universe colliding into another massive universe. Deja vu. Deja vu. Did I say it? Deja vu comes in at number 9. Another interesting theory that supports the existence of parallel universes is the deja vu phenomenon. If you've ever had a deja vu experience, I know I've had many of them, then you know exactly what I am talking about. It feels like you've already witnessed or lived through, the current situation, the current moment. It's honestly one of the weirdest feelings in the world, and it happens to all of us, but although it's very common, there's actually very little information known about deja vu. Most of us have experienced that feeling like you've been in a new place before, but we have a difficult time understanding how this is even possible. So maybe this feeling could prove that parallel universes exist, or it's just a glitch in our brain's memory, like a glitch in the Matrix or something. Either way, I think it'd be amazing if parallel universes, if they did exist, and deja vu occurs because in a parallel universe, a version of yourselves has already lived that scenario. Infinite universes brings us to number 8. Scientists scientists still don't fully understand time and space. One prominent theory is that space and time is flat and it goes on forever and ever and ever. So there's a high chance that there are many universes out there. But with that in mind, it's possible that universes could start to repeat themselves because there are only so many, different ways that particles could be put together. So the number of possible particle configurations in multiple universes would be limited to a set number of possibilities before they start to repeat. Which basically means that there could be a ton of parallel universes out there with someone who looks exactly like you. Maybe there's another brown guy that looks like me, but with a mustache, and one that can grow an actual beard. Our dreams are in at number 7. Some people believe that in a parallel universe, there is a copy of themselves that is capable of making different decisions and seeing places that will later manifest in their dreams. It's no secret that for countless years, people have always wondered what dreams mean. Some people are able to see the future in their dreams, while others think that their dreams have hidden meaning. But what if we took a step further and said that dreams are glimpses of events that are taking place in an alternate reality? Sometimes people will have reoccurring dreams, about a place that they've never ever seen or heard of. So yeah, maybe it's possible that our dreams are showing us what's exactly going on in a parallel universe and how a copy of ourselves is living in another world, another universe. Climbing up this list, or down this list, depends on how you perceive it. And at number 6, we have the green-skinned children. Let's travel back to the 12th century, which is that's so long ago? Well, let's travel back when a brother and a sister randomly appeared in a small village in England. Both of them had green-colored skin, spoke an unknown language, they wore strange clothes, and refused to eat any food that was offered to them. They were taken in and cared for by the village, and eventually, the children started to eat their food and their skin became less green. But shortly after, the boy became very sick and he died. His sister was able to learn English over time, and she told the others that they were from a place where the sun doesn't shine bright, and it was always nighttime. She said that her and her brother were at their home when all of a sudden they heard a loud noise, and then they were just suddenly in a new place that they didn't recognize. The girl grew up and lived her life on Earth, but as it turns out, she might have been living in an entirely different universe before. Black holes could be portals to parallel universes, and this takes us to number 5. It's a common belief that anything that falls into a black hole will be destroyed and lost forever. But Stephen Hawking, he had a different theory. He has always had a different opinion. He believed in the existence of parallel universes, and he thought that they should never be ruled out. Hawking suggests that black holes must eventually come to an end, and according to his calculations, the black holes will begin to leak matter into space and eventually explode, which would release the trapped particles. So it's quite possible that if something fell through a black hole, it wouldn't be destroyed. It could actually end up in an alternate universe. And now at number 4, let's talk about the Mandela effect. I find this so interesting. Well, let me know in the comment section below if you've ever experienced something like this, a Mandela effect, where you're convinced that something exists a certain way, but you come to discover that you remembered it all wrong. Well, let me share with you guys, a few examples. Looney Tunes was never spelled with 2 O's. It's actually spelled Tunes, T-U-N-E-S. Yeah, that was a hard one for me to get over. I still don't believe it. I think we're getting trolled. And of course, Curious George has a tail, right? No, you would be so wrong. His tail never existed, although we all remember him having a tail. Maybe it was the alternate reality Curious George. Oh, and yeah, you guys remember the Monopoly Man and his monocle, right? Well, you've been hit with the Mandela effect again because he never had a monocle. I know how you're feeling. I'm questioning my entire life as well. Well, as it turns out, the Mandela effect might be evidence that supports the existence of a parallel universe, because how else would you explain it? It's been suggested that people go back and forth between multiple universes, so that's how we can create strange memories of something that we've never heard or seen before. These memories are actually from another universe that's spilled into our current one. The cold spot theory takes us over to number 3. Scientists have been able to map out the radiation across the universe. For the most part, it is equally distributed and it's the same temperature, but there is one cold spot that stands out. Apparently, this cold spot could exist because of a collision between our universe and another universe. So the energy released during this collision would have created a cold spot. This could be proof that we existed in a multi-universe, and there are billions of other universes out there that could be like ours. Stephen Hawking takes us to number 2 on our list. Before Before his death, Stephen Hawking was seriously contemplating the thought that other universes exist. These alternate universes could be found alongside ours with their own galaxies, stars, and planets. He wrote a paper before his death with another scientist named Thomas Hertog. They believe that if future technology is able to pick up evidence of powerful gravitational waves from the Big Bang, well, then we might be able to prove the alternate universes exist. This would mean that the possibility of parallel universes might soon become a reality, and if that's the case, Stephen Hawking has truly changed the way that we view our universe forever. Now at number 1, we have a man who came directly from a parallel universe. Have you guys ever heard of the guy who arrived at the Tokyo International Airport with a passport from a country that doesn't exist? Well, this story was all over the news. I remember reading about it. Well, apparently this man told customs that he was in Japan for business and he had a legitimate visa stamps, currency from European countries, and checks from an unknown bank. Oh, and he also has a driver's license from a country called Turk. Well, that country doesn't exist. He was sent to a hotel while they investigated him, but he was always closely monitored and watched. But in the morning, he had completely vanished. His room is 15 stories up and security guards were watching his door at all times. Police tried to search for the man from Turk, but they never saw or heard from him again. He probably went back to his own parallel universe after he was caught, and you know what, maybe one day he'll be brave enough to make the journey again. Really crazy story.